tonight, at least, the villainy that we will be discussing will make a certain kind of realistic sense and be somewhat within the bounds of believability because it's fiction. And right now, that's less cartoony villainy than what we actually have in the real world. So, there we go. When we last left our heroes, they were fleeing the crater that was once Costa Rica. I seem to have something against like Central and South American countries. They always seem to do very poorly in my games in terms of collateral damage. The girls wiped out a historical site in Belize. It's just it's just not good. Um,
I'll, I want to mention briefly that the Masks game that I'm in on Saturdays, the GM from that is literally living in Brazil, and she has no problem with us trashing everything.
oh,
So
well, okay. I mean, it's fair.
you're fine.
As long as I have that blessing. Okay, so in Costa Rica, having come across, having purposely discovered, I should say, ruins, ancient temple ruins from presumably back in Kiln's time, although some of what Kiln has implied would seem to indicate that some of these ruins date back from before his people's time, back to the true ancient times, as opposed to his ancient times, their ancient times. Sorry. Um, uh, Much was revealed with regards to Joey and his what put him in the situation he's currently in vis-a-vis his rather furry self, um, and a heart-to-heart conversation that was unbeknownst to Joe, heart to heart to heart to heart to heart to heart. Thanks to the drone sort of rebroadcasting some of that, so the rest of the team was going to be in on what was going on there with his team. Um, Meanwhile, various activities and whatnot had allowed the sort of hunter creature that had been looking for the temple for quite some time to locate the temple and raise the thing rather indiscriminately. So the temple got a bit blasted apart by the well, not really undead, but certainly far past its expiration date megafauna slash mobile laser platform, dubbed the Stegosaurus by the team. Bit of melee, bit of smash. The whole fight sort of brought to a conclusion by Alex calling in an orbital strike. In sort of, would it be fair to call it panicky reaction or just desperation, or just I feel like there's a little bit of panic there in the sense of like, oh crap, I left them undefended and now they're in serious trouble. I need to fix this right away.
Definitely a lot of panic, which Alex is going to retroactively redefine as a smart move.
Okay, I mean that's fair. Uh, but yeah, a bit of a panicky reaction there that called in the orbital strike, which I mean, we'd sort of like identified a bit of the what the blast from the moose thing looked like as being sort of pink and that sort of an energy signature sort of thing, that sort of look. And the orbital strike, although really nobody's going to be looking at that thing directly without some corneal damage, but some of people might look at that after the fact and go, "Oh, this is weird. It was kind of the same color as the moose thing." Alex's data gathered from a multitude of drones scattered around the area can pretty much, whether or not they actually say anything about this, but I mean, on a spectrograph, definitely that orbital strike had pretty much exactly the same wavelength and energy signature stuff as the blast that the Stegosaurus was doing. So, which is a weird connection, an unexpected and I would say quite unwelcome connection between whatever tech Aegis has in orbit around the planet and this ancient, we're going to say somewhat antagonistic critter that Kiln has previously encountered as part of the sort of shock troops or shock and awe troops that served their great enemy back in the day, whose name starts with a P and which will consistently slip out of my
Not
mind.
P.
Wasn't
F.
it a P? An F?
No.
Lewis.
Fluvis. I keep wanting to think of it. I guess my brain's making it Pluvis. That's why I can't remember. I got the wrong letter to begin with. So yeah.
I said Elvis while looking directly at it, so you're doing fine.
So yeah, Fluvis, this great big bad. This thing was one of the, mini boss fights that this thing would throw out onto the battlefield at times. And somehow one of these things still trundling about, and also seems to have been replicated or at least some portions of it seem to have been replicated by somewhere within Aegis. I'm sure it's just a complete coincidence of parallel developing technology. Anyway, with the temple trashed, non-functional, craterized, you can call me Summer, the guardian of the temple. Tahi. Yeah. She said it translated somewhat to Summer.
There's an image in Discord which I think is Alex's best analysis of the situation.
It is amazing.
Alex, that is.
Wow.
I mean, I gotta save.
That'll be in the that will be in the logs.
Save. I must save that. That is. Wow. I mean, that's actually what it looks like. I don't know how you knew that, but I've got to get that into the. It's actually the technical schematic. It's really good.
And we're taunting Mike by doing it. It's in the Masks channel.
Oh my, that is too much. In my mind, I just imagine like Alex is sort of sitting quietly in the ship while the ship's while the ship is headed back, while the Excelsior is sort of headed back and is sort of sketching in a notebook and letting their mind drift, and looks down and this is like that's what they've sketched, and just scribbles out like that's ridiculous. That's so good. Yeah. You forgot the Aegis logo. Like a little hindquarters brand on it or something.
It's the cutie mark for the stag.
That's perfect. Moose, Military Orbital Ordnance Strike Equipment. Sure, it's just a coincidence that they named it that. Okay. So, now, going around the ship, going around the, so you, without the temple and so forth, Tahi / Summer, sort of brought along with you guys just out of sheer like, well, what else are we going to do? We have to kind of help her somewhat at loose ends, completely kind of discombobulated, really, right now. While we try to figure out what the heck to do about her, figure out what we can do.
I mean, I know there's a philosophy, teaching position open.
That would be.
And then Aegis couldn't get to her because of
We'll have to.
all the agreements and stuff between Aegis and Phoenix Academy.
We'll have to figure out. We'll have to discuss that with Hellbinder.
Was kind of hoping she would be a guide to the temple in Africa.
Hey, can we have two
academic advisors?
Yeah.
As a player, I feel her advice would be don't do that ever again. But that's.
I think that's fair.
That sucks for her.
Well, can we just have this actual conversation in character then? And
I think it's a good idea. Okay. I am gonna while this is before. I want to start with a slightly different thing, and then have that discussion distract Met from what's going on in her head. So let's start with what's going on in Met's head. So all this is going on. She's piloting the we're officially calling it the Excelsior.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you have a couple of moves here. Really kind of take your pick. I don't know. The investigate the timeline one is weird because at the start of the session, whenever time or when time passes, but I think this is fine. There's sort of either one here that makes really either the remember someone or the investigate the timeline move. I have them open on my screen. I'm kind of open to either one of those. Not kind of, I just am. I'm just curious which one you're most interested in turning over in your mind as you're saying, you're doing that, the driver's zen thing and kind of letting your mind turn over events and process things, and can lead into one of these things as you ponder, either as a revelation or more confusion, something along those lines. And then we will kind of segue from that into that other conversation.
I think I'm going to try and remember someone, and it's going to be our new teacher. Isn't that what we're going to do?
Well, it depends on whether she wants to do that. But Tahi, sure. Remember someone. When you push yourself to remember the version of someone that exists in your future, mark a condition and roll memories. Did you mark a condition?
No.
Should mark a condition. How does one roll memories?
I have it. It's on my sheet.
Oh, you just hit the remember someone thing. Gotcha.
Yeah, because it's there's a calculation for it, but it's built in.
Nice. On a hit, you connect. What is the +2 coming from? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Does it start at -1 and then you add one for every person that you've got in place or something?
I think that's what it is. I'd have to look it up. But...
Gotcha. All right.
If you're talking about the future stat for the Harbinger,
so your memory score starts at -1 and goes up by
Gotcha.
1.
Okay.
Each name above.
Gotcha. On a hit, you connect who they are now to who they are in the future. Choose the role that they fulfill in the future, and the GM will tell you about their future self. On a 10+, ask a follow-up question. On a miss, they're not all who they thought they would be. But you have a 10, so choose the role they will fulfill in the future.
I think they are in the architect role. And how do I spell the name? How do you spell that?
Tahi. Tahi.
Because the delay was
overlapping.
Yep.
Happens on mine quite a bit. The architect. I have trouble thinking about whether or not the architect is really. Also, I'll just note the way I'm sort of tracking this is if the person is in your memories slots, then they have influence over you because there's no better place to sort it out. If they're in there, they have influence over you, so that's easy enough. They get influence over you. Okay, so I'm not 100%. I mean, monster is pretty negative. Corruptor is pretty negative. Architect, I feel like is almost a neutral.
Well, no, there's 3 negative and 3 positive. So monster, traitor, corruptor are negative. Martyr, architect, and leader are positive. Is the way I read it.
Interesting. So, I mean, by putting with them in the architect role, the way you're remembering them, or well, I mean, not necessarily remembering them specifically, but you figure, I mean, process of elimination has got you to a point where you feel like it must be. There was always, we've established that you've got like a history there with not really, no real artificial intelligences and that kind of thing in your future. But at the same time, your history has this record of this not human thinking person, non-human thinking person, not an alien, a non-human thinking person that they very carefully did not call an AI or a robot or something like that. That was, to an extent, taught or revealed or helped shape the technology that led you to the stars, or if not led you to the stars, it forms the basis of a lot of the tech that the ships were built on. Some of that was the way your histories represent it, and keeping in mind, history is written by the winners. The way your history represents is some of that technology was acquired and mishandled by the bad guys at some point. So there's that risk out there. By being the architect, they are also sort of, everybody wants to kidnap the genius scientist, right? The source of the knowledge, the one who can build the thing. And the potential there that the bad that might come, the bad people that might come along, or the bad things that might come along, are going to try to do something with this technology as well. That risk is there as well. So, you have a follow-up question. While you're thinking about that,
yeah,
because you're thinking about Tahi and try to figure out how she pieces into all this, and the pieces are kind of falling into place, and not coincidentally, you slowly kind of become aware of from the talk around the cabin that she is the center of conversation, at least in part, that's going on in the rest of the crew cabin as well, because they're talking about it. So, I think Kiln was sort of the one. Well, no. What's the line that sort of brings Met back into focus with regards to paying attention to the conversation that you guys are having?
I have one that I think will do it.
Okay. Okay.
Alex saying, if you look at it in a certain way, blowing up your house was a good thing.
I'm not sure that I'm capable of acquiring that angle of that point of view. Could you elaborate?
I would have. So first, on a personal note, when was the last time that you actually talked to some other living, thinking being before us?
probably 10 years, although I don't know that you could really call that a conversation. If you're talking about actual interaction, I see your point. It's been a very long time.
Okay, so from our perspective, just as a moral kind of thing, like you were basically put into servitude as a living, thinking person that was forced to stay here and endure isolation. And I mean, in our culture, that's considered a harsh punishment. Like solitary confinement is very bad. But from a broader perspective, I'm also going to say that there's people who were going to find your temple and unleash the Stegosaurus, and maybe they didn't have the ability to destroy it like we did. Go us. But statistically, it was going to happen sooner or later. The developing world and the developed world are clashing, and as we uncover more and more land that we're going to try to exploit, more and more people will show up. Eventually, it's going to happen, and you're just kind of lucky that it was us. But in addition to that, we are the people who probably the least likely to misuse that technology that was in that temple. And in fact, what this means for the temple is that since it's damaged beyond repair and it can no longer really be mined for its secrets, that your final act as guardian to keep the secrets from falling into the hands of bad people kind of has been taken care of. So, like, if you were taken from the temple or killed, that would be bad. But in this case, like, it's better than those alternatives. And if you think that the best alternative would be for you to sit there for tens or hundreds of years or however long it took, still being lonely and off and going nuts from not having any contact, I don't think that's a very good option either. So that's basically where I'm coming from.
Do you have a word in your language for something that is simultaneously logically right and spiritually very uncomfortable?
Technically correct. It's the best. It's the best kind of correct.
It's the best kind of correct. I will concede only because you are being accompanied by an ancient that you are technically correct. With an emphasis on the fact that it still makes me feel poorly.
I mean, I'm gonna have to do paperwork too, so like I'm with you there.
Change
And
is always
also,
uncomfortable. That's how you know that it's significant.
What?
I said change is always uncomfortable. That's how you know it's important.
And so, yeah, Tahi kind of turns her head because up to this point you hadn't really been, sort of participating in the conversation. I have only ever had one calling. I'm not sure. I know very little about this world, and I am not sure what purpose I serve anymore. My connection to the temple was my reason to be. Defending that temple was my reason to be.
But why was that important?
Because that was my reason to be.
But why was it important that you protect and defend the temple?
To me, or to the people who assigned me that role?
To the people who assigned you that role.
I have no idea. That was the role that I was assigned to. I was given that role because having someone in that role was needful. For myself,
In all these years, you didn't think about how your role fit in with the rest of, the world.
my world was the temple. I rarely strayed far from it. That was part of my directive, part of my role. And my connection, or I should say, the connection between my temple and the other temples was a reinforcement in that all the other temples were guarded by guardians like myself who had that same purpose.
Before the temples became isolated, right, when they were actively in use, how was your life different then?
I had more to do because there was more caretaking and more to keep track of at the temple because there were more visitors, more inhabitants, more they would call them priests, so forth, who lived there, that sort of thing. It was busier. It's been very quiet for a very long time.
Not learn from the people that were there?
It was not my purpose.
Got it.
I do not like the idea that absent the temple, I now have no further purpose. The idea makes me uncomfortable. But logically, I'm not sure that any other statement is accurate.
I do not believe that you have no other purpose because I know that you're important to my own future.
You know of me in your future?
Yes. My memories are not totally, unfogged with the method of my return to this past, but you do play an important role in my society and our survival of events that are to come.
I'm not sure if I can rely on. It strikes me as a dangerous thing to take as destiny future memory. Also, somewhat limiting, but a comfort in that I'm known to have continued past this point.
What I am telling you now is that you have a potential of having an important impact. And therefore, your purpose is not at an end.
You are all very complicated.
Timey-wimey?
No, you're very complicated. You complicate things. My life before was simpler. I need to think about this. Where are we going? Where are you going? She doesn't say we. She's not. I don't know that she's ever said we. So watch for that to finally happen. So she says instead, where are you going?
We're going to our home and to see how we can support this change in your life and what's changing, as well as support our own understanding.
Did you plan to bring me back with you from the beginning?
Of course not.
Then how can that be your purpose now?
Tricky. Alex, do you want to take this one?
Sure, I would love to. Question: where does purpose come from? Who or what can originate purpose?
my creators. In my case,
Why them? What ability do they have to create purpose?
they're she. I've been watching The Hobbit too much. I keep thinking of Martin Freeman's way of like starting a sentence and then stopping and having to kind of exhale because he's thinking.
Yes.
You know that. Their ability to do so is inferred in that they gave me purpose, and thus they must be able to give me purpose.
Okay. How do you recognize that they gave you purpose?
Because I have one. Had one.
How do you recognize that you do?
When I think about what you are all very complicated, and this is exhausting.
No. It's really simple. Let me jump to the end then, because you have the ability to give yourself a purpose. We have the ability to give ourselves a purpose. Like when I was younger, my parents assigned me a purpose that I really didn't want, and so I gave myself a new one. And if you feel yourself lost, you can give yourself a new purpose, or you can piggyback onto one that's given to you from other people. But you have the ability to do it. But it's like maybe a skill or something that you haven't practiced, and you're new with it. You may need to learn how to do it a little bit, but you still have the ability.
That presumes that I have the same self-determinate capacity as you or the ancient. I'm not entirely sure that is true. That may not be true.
I can tell you why it's true, because you feel uncomfortable. And as long as you have a sense of what's comfortable for you, you can come up with a purpose.
She's doing the what I can only refer to as the Inception squint. The meme with what's his name squinting at the one guy at the bar. Anyway.
Yeah.
The Inception squint. She's like, I'm not sure if you're full of shit, but I kind of suspect you're full of shit. But at the same time, you're full of shit, and this kind of makes a bit of logical sense. So therefore, I'm not.
But I can't point out where the shit is right
now.
now.
I can smell it, but it's faint, and I'm not sure if it's you. But
No, this is absolutely true, and I believe this wholeheartedly. I think maybe the easiest thing for you right now would be to watch this streaming movie called WALL-E. I think this is going to be very appropriate to your situation. I think you're going to get a lot out of this movie. Okay.
If you believe it will be useful educationally. Actually, she turns and looks at Kiln and says, "Would you agree with this assessment?"
To watch WALL-E? Yeah, they showed me it the other week. It's so highly recommend.
Very well. Now, so I've got this picture now in my head of this, this stone golem girl with like headphones on, watching it on like a tablet. Kind of in a jump seat, sort of behind, kind of behind where Met's sitting, up in the front, or maybe she's further in the back or something like that. Frowning just intently at the thing, like she's watching like a Neil deGrasse Tyson Cosmos episode. She's trying to like get the notes down. Just intent. Note to self: rewatch WALL-E so I can misapprehend appropriate plot points at the right time, especially when referring to Met's future. The generational ship in Tahi's mind is now absolutely nothing but people in little hover chairs being waited on by robots, and with atrophied skeletons and so forth.
It's funny because in Met's version of the ship for old supermodels.
Exactly, exact opposite. No robots.
And there are no robots.
Everyone's a supermodel. All the people do all the work. There's way more open space. in the Wall-E version. I'm trying to decide if Met would find the ship in Wall-E just like a dream come true or just like absolutely insulting.
I've never seen it, so maybe that's on my list to do before the next.
You should
game.
watch Wall-E. Yeah, you should. It's a good movie. Anyway,
Actually, I now have this vision of slowly over the course of the journey, sort of everyone kind of creeping up behind and watching Wally over Tahi's
bits
shoulder
and
because
pieces
they're
of
like,
it. I remember that bit. So Met's never seen it. Are we saying Margie's never seen it?
She's never seen it.
Oh yes.
I saw it at school one time, so
Oh yeah. You guys should find a way.
we have a copy of it,
we do.
There you go.
and also Disney Plus. But you know,
Put it on the watch list. That is
Ha!
put it on the front of the watch list. Sometimes I add stuff to the queue and then I jump it to the front. Jump it to the front of the watch list. Anyway, all right. So
Did you-
Wally's going on.
Tower.
What with her kind of tuned out at least for the next 2 hours and mumble minutes. Awkward silence descends possibly, or at least pokes its head in to see if it's wanted or needed.
I'm playing Animal Crossing. You all can talk about it.
What are the current elephants in the room? That's what we need, is an elephant in the room move for masks.
one might even say a moose in the room.
A moose in the room.
Um.
The 800-pound gorilla in the middle of the room.
Hey, that's not nice.
Super accurate though.
He's actually sitting more in
Yeah,
the corner of the room, but
I was about to say that.
still taking up a substantial portion of the room.
Also, he's been down to 750. The protein bars and the jogging have really helped out.
And he's
Yeah,
too, like,
there may be some
embarrassed to be-
large cartons of ice cream in his immediate future.
He's too embarrassed to be angry right now, so he's not growing.
I don't know that Joey knows that he was on camera, so to speak,
No, he doesn't.
during that
No, he
talk.
doesn't.
He's
Yeah.
still gonna be
Yeah.
embarrassed.
I'm curious then. I mean, does that come up or does anybody say anything? I mean, you guys know what was discussed or what was said. Does anybody feel particularly compelled to,
I can shake things up.
say, I mean, I heard what you said, and I
No,
just want you
I
to
can
know.
shake things up.
Yeah. Okay.
It's definitely a death sentence for Alex, so please feel free.
Yeah, no, I can make this fun.
Okay.
You know,
Joey's brooding in a corner.
yeah, everyone's kind of
Angry, guilty, and insecure.
lovely. Everyone has kind of doing their own thing, and I go over to Joey and kind of pat him on the back and how admirable of you to declare your intentions in such a way. I look forward to the celebrations and the rituals. I've been dying to try some some good kuji.
Some good what?
Some good what? Wait, what?
Kunki, the dish to celebrate the partnership of two people.
Wait, what?
We all heard you declare your feelings for Met.
Wait, what?
Somebody needs to find a gif of that Hitchcockian like zoom that zooms in on the person and zooms out on the background they're standing in front of that.
Yeah, that Dutch focal shot.
That stretching zoom that they do. Yeah.
I'm sure that Alex is very intently focusing on Animal Crossing right now.
Animal Crossing tapping intensifies.
Does this seat have an eject function?
I control it.
Damn it. Matt, I'm not. All right, I don't want to step on Joey's reaction here, but I'm curious about whether or not this really even tracks as an awkward thing for Matt.
Matt's driving.
Is Matt very intently driving?
No, well, Matt's driving. I'm curious to see how Joey follows up on his statement because I knew he wasn't aware that I was hearing it. So I am not one to push the subject.
Wait a second.
Joey, on
So
the scale from 1 to 10, on a scale from 1 to just let me roll to take a powerful blow now, where did this land?
on the bright side, it's broken him out of his brooding.
On the downside, I'm not sure if the ship can withstand you raging out inside of it from when you're underwater.
Yeah.
Or that Kiln can.
Wait.
Or that Alex can.
You heard the discussion that Alex and I were having before in the jungle?
Switch tapping intensifies.
Yes, and I want you to know that I support you wholeheartedly, and I want to do what I can to help you. And again, I'm so looking forward to having some kunji. Like it, have been missing it so much.
Does it involve meat served tartare?
No, well,
I might be able to grab some samples of it very shortly.
Funny you should ask. It traditionally is made with berries that the couple will go to get together. However, there have been some variations over the centuries, some alterations, and of course, it all depends on your tribe. So, I'm sure for us, we could get some a chicken tendy version.
Joe looks over at Alex, who's head down in game, starts to say something, looks over at Met, who's busy flying this thing, looks around to see if there's like a pencil holder somewhere in the cabin.
Why are you looking for a pencil holder? You need something.
Because I want to break all of them at once.
Strangely enough, the ancient/futuristic technology of the Excelsior does not include a pencil holder of, Ticonderoga number 2s. Weird.
Thank you for your well wishes and support. I fear that there is no kunji in the offing at the moment, but if there is, I will be sure and consult with you on possible recipes.
I would be happy to help.
Thank you.
My brain was going back and forth between like marzipan to tiramisu to like sort of a key lime pie to like a flan, and then you started saying
really scary about a tendy version.
And then yeah, exactly. And then you said you could probably do a chicken tendy version. And I'm like, oh, what? Like I'm very now we're into mince pies or something, and I'm very confused and concerned. I don't think anybody's ever eaten a mince pie in celebration of anything and meant it. Anyway,
Joey.
Has Alex's hair caught fire yet from your brooding stare?
No, I'm doing okay.
I'm fine. I'm good.
I got a plan.
Had or have?
Whatever.
Sure. Okay.
I'm going to watch the movie now. So I will.
Alex's movie setup, very high tech, really, really like practically verboten, never to be found anywhere technology actually allows a tablet to connect to two Bluetooth headphone devices at the same time and continue working, and more importantly, does so easily.
That's why they paid me the big bucks.
It's forbidden technology
It's
that he's
forbidden.
ferreted out from Aegis.
We have something that kind of works like that here in our house, but I guarantee you the "and does so easily" does not. That is not part of it.
So, Bluetooth pairing, we call this Bluetooth polygamy. That's how that works.
Oh yeah, I like that. My phone, interestingly, does it instantaneously, no problem whatsoever. Two devices, easy peasy every time. The Samsung thing I got, which makes me very happy about buying a Samsung. But yeah, no, that's the arcane technology. Lets you just pick up a set of headphones, turn it on, and you can listen. It just works.
Like, let me know if Joey comes in, like, looms over Alex menacingly, and I'll do something better than that.
I hear him move to the back, or wherever the movie viewing is. I'll check the rear view mirror, as it were, and see how he's doing.
Joey, you sit down and put on the headphones just as we get through the video montage of all the stuff that Wally is doing with Eve, while Eve is in like power save mode and not responsive.
I haven't seen the movie either, so
okay.
Well, I can figure it out from what you're saying.
Imagine boy with crush and girl beeping softly and not responding. I don't know. You should watch it. You guys definitely. I'm honestly astonished. You guys haven't seen it. Definitely watch it. You'll find it adorable, I think. We named our Roomba after one of them, after one of the critters in there. Anyway, good stuff. So yeah, Matt. I kind of want you to pierce the mask a little bit, if you really want to know how it seems like he's doing. And this is partly, keep in mind, this is part of my own internal fan fiction about this thing, where Met gets Joey better than she sort of lets herself admit that, because admitting that she gets Joey is sort of like allowing in a level of complication into her life that she just doesn't necessarily feel she has the bandwidth to handle. But it's always kind of there in the background. Like, in my mind, it's always kind of there in the background. Like, if she wanted to, she could get Joey. Like, know what's going on with him.
That in a way, all of us get Joey because, we're all outsiders. So, his just outsiderness is more,
more on the outside.
More on the outside.
More on the literal outside of him. Yeah.
As opposed to the rest of us who are outsiders, but it takes more to see that.
We're outside on the inside. That is a tagline for a pilot episode of a teen superhero show, if I ever heard one. We're outsiders on the inside. This weekend, this fall on Netflix.
It's kind of like the opposite of the movie with the little emotion guys in the brain.
Inside Out.
Inside Out.
Inside Out. Yeah.
Yes.
There's your sequel, Outside In. And I don't
Okay.
necessarily disagree with you. I also, but again, my fan fiction writing soul is saying that's just her making excuses for the fact that she really does get him. But that's me, like in full on. I'm disregarding the canon for my ship for my OTP. So,
Forget that she also has the Wiggins over this whole
situation,
mind
yeah.
transfer technology.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's gonna be. But anyway, so my question outside of that is, do you think that it makes sense for you to pierce the mask on Joey? Like, how well are you gonna be reading him, or at least
Not
trying
very
to?
well because I'm angry right now.
But okay. How much? I guess put it another way is like, are you seriously trying to figure out what's going on with him, or are you just kind of glancing back there and making sure that he's not about to freak out?
I am more looking to see how he's doing because I don't think he wants to see me right now because that would probably make things more challenging for him. But I do want to see how he's doing because I do want to comfort and support. So I'm
At
kind
some
of
point.
waiting to see when would be a good point for that.
Gotcha. Hmm. I I don't I don't think it necessarily goes to pierce the mask then. I think it's just kind of reading the situation. I think it's fair to say that if you're thinking in terms of like when can I say something that to make him feel better or something like that, the answer is going to be definitely at this point sometime when everybody else is not around, because I think it's pretty clear that Joe's kind of over the idea of having an audience.
Yeah.
For a while.
Oh, so you mean Alex's plan to push them together worked after all? Woohoo!
I mean, if that's how you want to play it.
If
Well,
Well,
not to say that aloud, do you? Because
no.
No.
But one of Alex's skills is retroactive justification. So let's go with that.
A talent, a verifiable talent that Aegis probably doesn't think is really that great of a talent because it's super frustrating. Right. So, the rather interesting juxtaposition of the slight little stone girl and the hulking gorilla watching Wally in the back. Kiln, Roddy,
unconscious.
Convalescing.
But all the medical systems indicate that
He's fine.
okay.
He's just recovering. He seems to be okay. Nothing, no weirdness is happening with his blood pressure or brain waves, heart rate, respiration, oxygen levels, all in the green. He's just not waking up right now.
faking it.
He's faking it. He's sleeping. He's taking a breather. This kind of reminds me a little bit of the shawarma scene at the end of the Avengers, where everyone's sort of sitting there, nobody's really talking. It's not exactly awkward, but it's not exactly comfortable either. And it probably goes on long enough that you're just like, okay, can we please just cut away from this? And we cut away to, like, I don't know, Hellbinder's office or something. Unless people were like, well, no, I had this other thing I wanted to do in the ship. Because certainly there's some stuff out there, but we can get back to. We could skip forward a little bit to a few bits and pieces, some scenes and stuff, get you guys back in the school. What do you think?
We talk to our team advisor before we arrive at
Oh, you
Hellbinder's
could.
office?
Yeah, you could. That is a
That would be
perfectly.
a good thing to do.
That is a perfectly either a perfectly cromulent suggestion is to do that with her, or simply state she's with us and is up to speed and cautiously ready to back your suggestions. Or at
I'm
least,
game with either direction. But I leave it up to others who may have other plans before wanting to talk to Hellbinder about bringing people home with us.
I mean, I think there's other topics of discussion, like, A, what happened, B, the whole orbiting death laser of the great evil one
yeah,
thing.
for sure.
Nothing that's necessarily going to come up while we're all sitting there in the prolonged silence.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying there isn't more to talk about. I'm just wondering what we want to get to on the next thing. Let's go with Hellbinder's office. Let's go with Hellbinder, currently present. Hellbinder, not Surge because he didn't have anything to do with this thing. Arizella and you lot. We'll say minus Roddy, who's currently in the infirmary.
Still faking it.
Still faking it.
Eating popsicles.
They're bringing me all the ice cream I want. It's like I lost my tonsils or something. Okay. Hellbinder. So Hellbinder's at his desk and he's flipping through a fairly thin. It's like a little half-inch ring binder with only like probably 4 or 5 sheets of paper in it, and then a folder underneath of it. And he's flipping through these, and he keeps flipping. He flips like through 5 of them. And one of them doesn't even have printing on the back, and he flips and he just flips through. He flips back the other direction. He flips this direction. You can see on at least the front page, it's got like your signatures and some other stuff. It's a form that the homework really that Serge had you guys fill out in class from applied heroics or whatever. And there's some other papers that come after with some initials in a different pen and different handwriting. No, I cannot find anywhere in here where in your charter where we're describing as one of your club activities recruiting foreign exchange students. I do not see it in here. Somebody help me out.
Well, of course not. She's not a foreign exchange student. She's a new professor.
Oh.
I can guarantee you will not be able to find anyone with more knowledge on ancient history.
We have an ancient history teacher and mythology.
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
He's not that old.
That was him actually going. I understand, I think, based on the highlights that your advisor gave me, what is essentially going on here. And inasmuch as it keeps things underneath the radar of an organization that seems to really like radar dishes, I applaud it. However, new faculty who have, one might say, if one were not a big fan of the Phoenix Academy, unreasonable amounts of influence over our gifted youth go through an extensive and external vetting process. I cannot simply drop a faculty member in here and expect them not to notice. That will get noticed immediately.
So you're saying what we need to do a new faculty?
You broke up there, right? What we need is what? New
A
faculty?
new so you're saying that a new student doesn't have as much oversight or paperwork.
Yes. Yes, that would, we get new students in temporarily or fostered to us, I suppose would be the best way of saying it, in all sorts of situations. Babies coming in on unmanned spaceships from exploding planets, Phantom Zone rejects. It goes on and on and on. Where we're left, we're practically a petting zoo.
Yeah, that was really mean.
Oh, no offense, Joseph. Sorry, I didn't mean anything by that. But you certainly not that sort of situation, but we get people who dropped into us unexpectedly all the time. It takes, in as much as somebody would have to notice that there was another student on the rolls, months, sometimes longer. Depends on how we shuffle things around. New faculty would be a problem. And honestly, speaking only as the head academic supervisor or administrator here, I'm not entirely convinced of her bona fides. All due respect to you and your recommendation. But a student, and I'm sorry, is it Tahi? Am I pronouncing that correctly? Do you want our help? Do you want any of this? I don't. You're practically a refugee from a battle where your home's been destroyed. There is social machinery in place to handle that sort of situation, if that's how you prefer to be helped.
Headmaster,
Kiln.
that machinery, correct me if I'm wrong, for someone such as, the Temple Guardian, would go through Aegis, would it not?
Eventually. And I'm not suggesting it. I'm simply saying that we're rather taking charge of someone who your argument is a free-willed and entirely independent individual, and I believe therefore should be treated as one, and therefore ask what they actually want.
Alex has no response but gives thumbs up to that because that's their position too.
I agree that Miss Tahi should, obviously be encouraged to, determine what it is that she wants and how she wants to do that. However, since we are responsible for displacing her, I feel we have an obligation to do our best to support her in that transition.
I absolutely agree with the idea based on what limited and sketchy briefing I've been given so far. That particular barb is definitely directed towards Arizella. That you have both are somewhat responsible for her current situation and have a duty of care. I understand that. Legally speaking, you cannot assume such responsibility directly or officially, and therefore it falls, if she will allow it, to us. At which point in time I will turn around and ask what she would most prefer, allowing that the faculty option may be challenging. Tahi looks actually towards Alex after considering Kiln for a moment, then looks more at Alex and then back to Hellbinder and says, "It has been made very clear to me in my recent conversations with this group that I am woefully inexperienced in terms of the modern world. I have not been in contact with another living being in any significant way in a very long time. I cannot imagine a situation where that would qualify me to be an instructor. And even when I was in my full role at the temple and there were pilgrims, I was never asked to be so. And I don't know that I would have been comfortable with that role even then. It was not my preferred function. I would, however, she kind of looks at Alex again, like to learn, I think. If this is a school, she seems somewhat unsure about that as an assertion. If this is a school, it seems most appropriate for me to be a student and learn what I can. And if this, she raises her hand kind of in Joe's direction. If this team, if anyone on this team needs, we're hoping that I could help them, I will help you as much as I can, if that's all right. When I can.
A small, sharp nod of the head.
So I would like to be, I think it would be best if I learned more. So I can figure out what I should do, so I can learn what I should do next, or decide what I should do next. My only purpose beyond that is I think I am somehow connected to some of what this team is trying to do. And I would like to help with that in so much as I can be allowed.
Alex will raise their hand at this point as well.
Alex, says Hellbinder, as though signaling that he has finished his cigarette and the firing squad may continue.
Fantastic. Maybe there's like a groundskeeper position that would let Tahi kind of ease in. Like she can learn at the school, and then that would give her something that she's familiar with.
I
Might not be safe for possible intruders to the island for some time.
I mean, that's kind of the point.
Let's assess that situation as we go forward. I'm not adverse to it. Certainly, extracurricular credit and some supervising from a faculty member who has just volunteered to help me out with smoothing this whole transition over. Arizella kind of winces and nods. Not a big wince, but like, yep, I deserve that one.
That's me.
That's me. Yep. I just, I think how we will proceed, we will work with Miss Tahi to determine an appropriate curriculum, something that will let her ease in as much as possible. I think a counseling period daily is advised. And I think we'll write her in as a, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a, this is me saying this. I'm thinking like secondary member of the charter kind of thing, or
Auxiliary?
What's that?
An auxiliary?
Yeah. And let's get her in as an auxiliary member of your school club. that allows for participation where it's warranted and excused absences when it's not, in case there is some need there. And that should keep things. We'll do that last bit informally so as to avoid any unnecessary paperwork. Tahi rather stands out, though. We're going to work on an alias. I think something that flies under the radar a bit, since we keep using that analogy. And
Hellbinder has a Rolodex, you know, kind of like the hurricane list of names. It's like, okay, what's the next
What do
female
we-
name on the generic list? Anne, yes, that sounds great. Anne Cooper, we have a background for that.
It's not a good background. But we haven't used it since 1928, so it should be fine. Well, I mean, I would like to say that this. I'd like to make some snarky comment, but honestly, this is not the most complicating event that's happened for us this semester, or probably in the last month. So, as far as initial field trips for a club go, not the worst possible result, aside from the crater visible from space. But I understand that is not entirely your fault, and probably not something that Aegis is going.
Totally not our fault.
Well, if nothing else, I think it's fairly clear that Aegis isn't going to come asking how it happened. So that at least comforts me. Although the fact that the reason why they're not going to come and ask why it happened does not comfort me. So really, you win some, you lose some.
Well, let me be the first to welcome you to the school. I have found it most educational here.
I hope that I do as well. I have a great many questions. I hope that they can be answered. They offer history classes here.
Don't
Kiln
I absolutely yes they do, and you know, there's one teacher who I highly recommend you take. Dr. Fritz, applied mythology class. In fact, you know,
You think so?
headmaster, I think that there's a spot open
It's hysterical.
right now. So I mean, in my session. So Tahi
You
could
think you're getting out of it?
no, I want to be there to watch this. Tahi could audit the class for a few days.
I'll take that under advisement. Although, if she's interested, of course, and the seats are open, we do whatever we can to. I'm trying to see now. I'm looking at the seating chart and seeing where Tahi can fit in. Oh my God, this thing is a mess. We don't have an open chair. We'll have to see about that.
Fill them all. I think she should have Roddy's chair. He can get the small desk that gets pulled up to the side.
We'll see.
Because he's not here.
We'll see. He loses his seat. We don't necessarily need to have her in a seating chart specifically, but I think it'd be fun to have her in the. Sequoia will definitely give up his seat, let her get up there in the front, and take something in the back that's uncomfortable, just because he wants to be the do the right thing for the make things less awkward. First day, new student, all that kind of thing. He's just that kind of guy. Anyway,
So that makes the rest of the boys feel oh so good.
in my head, he's the hang on a second. Maximilian? In my head, he's like Maximilian from My Hero Academia, which means nothing unless you actually watch the show. But that's kind of how I like just at least on the face of it, just this absolutely instinctively on and picking the right thing to do, like hero kid. Aside from the weird constant staring at, or well, I shouldn't say constant staring, but always staring at the wrong time kind of thing with Met. Which may be something only Joey sees. Who knows? Is it really even happening? Anyhow. Okay, so I think so. Yeah, that's kind of how that lands out. Not necessarily faculty, certainly student. Gets you in the chair, gets her into some classes, gives you, gets her in the space, and does not, in fact, preclude any of the other plans that you guys, thoughts that you guys had with regards to interacting at the temple, future temples, or for that matter, helping out with Joe's stuff. So that pretty much continues to work.
Do we get a lecture from our advisor?
I think it's not. I don't know if it's exactly. I don't know whether it's a lecture or not. What was it? The Batcave of Apathy? No. What's the base called?
Fortress of Attitude.
Fortress of Attitude.
Fortress of Attitude. I need to. I need to get one of these up here where I've got like, the picture of the Fortress of Attitude, so that we've got the appropriate background to drop in. For some reason, I don't have that right now. I need to fix that. In any case, yeah, she actually probably drops in there. After, like, really the next time that you guys have an off period and are all basically, sort of there, she'll kind of, or she'll say that she's coming and just be there on this period or something like that, or just wait until after school or something. Where am I looking at? I'm looking at Discord.
And aside from the meeting with Hellbinder and such, Alex is going to make sure to stay out of Joey's way.
That's
So in as much as, basically, yeah, when you guys get out of Hellbinder's office, essentially, Arizella says something along the lines of, I've got a class next. I'm sure you all have a class next. We'll need to talk the next time you have an off period. I believe that's 6th. Let's meet up at your clubhouse, if it's all the same to you.
Chris.
I still, for better or worse, where are you guys at? Is that gonna work? No, it probably won't. I'm saving some pictures here. Down to so Alex, you have a useful out if you don't want to be there in the same room as Joey, waiting for
2 seats in front.
What's that?
2 seats in front of him.
Oh, like in a classroom, I'm fine with that. I just don't want to be like in a darkened alleyway.
Right. No, but I was saying, if you would rather not be waiting in your clubhouse, awkwardly waiting in the clubhouse for Arizella to show up, you have an out in that your Aegis handler sends word that they would really like to debrief at your earliest convenience, your first free period or whenever you can get away. Please advise as to when that time will be.
I would love to do that as soon as possible.
Because that
Wham.
definitely gets you out of that. Got to get away from all. I need to save a bunch of the stuff that's in the problem with the stuff being up in Discord is I don't see it then in the image log for the Roll20, which is fine. I just got to remember to go back through here and save a bunch of these things as assets so I can pull back into them later. In any case, I'm scrolling back up here to look for a particular image, and I think I'm gonna have to go back quite far, so never mind then. All right, so how, if you guys were on the field trip, were you missed, do you think, or was this kind of like a weekend thing where you like came back and everything was essentially normal coming back to the next day or whatever?
It was a weekend thing. We left
Yeah.
Friday. We left like Friday afternoon, right after class. Got in Sunday way late at night. So when did we do homework? Good question.
That isn't.
So, on the other hand, I do recall that Roddy had an invitation to a party, and I do not want to have him miss that. So, whatever timeline shenanigans have to happen to make that, to make that work, I'm fully supportive.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. Let's back up here just a bit then, and not have her running off to class then, Arizella. Just saying, like, let's meet at your clubhouse a bit later. I've got a few things that I need to take care of, and then we should talk. So let's keep it still on the weekend. The party was at the thing, right? At
Sonic.
yeah, at the big thing. The big thing. Right. We should not give that. We should not lose that. What I can't find, and what I am trying to find, just to make it clear, is I'm trying to find the pictures of the damn Fortress of... there we go. Finally. The Fortress of Attitude. I just need to save that picture. It's very important to me.
Probably. I know they're in the forum entries as well, but
right.
Which one you might need to...
Yeah, it takes a bit of digging,
around
but that's
a bit.
okay. I've got it now. Lounge number 1. I think that's all the one I need anyway, so it's fine. Anyway, that's the important thing. We just need one. Anyway, okay, so debriefing. So the week. Sorry. All right. Let's. That word has been sent, and Alex is like, "Oh, thank God, yes, I'm absolutely," because yeah. It's either that or homework, or Joey, or awkward silence, or something. Not where I wanted that to go. So with the time that you have at the... We're going to come back around to Alex's answer on this because I think that one's going to be the most obvious. But with the time that you have here waiting for Arizella to come in and have a conversation with you guys, what are each of you kind of doing with that? Is anyone in particular like saying I'm taking at least some responsibility for helping Tahi acclimate, or is we can assume that they're sort of, to a certain extent, we have to kind of assume that they're under Hellbinder's wing here for the next little while anyway. Now I am ready to switch you over to the base. There we go. Lovely. All right.
What I'm gonna do is get her some clothes.
Okay. Where do you go for that? Do you just go and grab some more of your stuff, or do you go to the person who seems to know a bunch about clothes in this day and age?
I go to my clothing source.
You go to your
Because
you go to your dealer.
I don't know that she would fit my clothes. So yes, I go to yeah. All I can think of is the accent.
I keep wanting to call her Jocasta. I know it's not
Macaroon.
right.
Jillian.
Jillian, yes.
Macaroon.
Macaron. The door opens. Somebody else opens it. She's over on her bed and like leans over and she's like, "Oh. She gets up and walks over. You smell like dirt and plants. Where were you?"
Dirt and plants.
That's what you smell like, dirt and plants. Smell like dirt and plants.
I was in a jungle. But I'll tell you more about it later.
You need to you wore that to a jungle? Okay. I have so much work to do. What did you need, sweetie?
Is Tahi with us or I wasn't gonna introduce her around, so I think unless she wants to come along, I'm just gonna go by myself.
I think she's currently picking out course arrangements and stuff like that. With Hellbinder is doing the job of academic advisor right now, which is not really his job, but he's taking this on directly. So we can assume Tahi's she stayed in the office when you guys were filed out.
Okay, good. Well, we kind of brought back a new student with us.
Interesting.
And, yeah, she's really great. But she well, you'll hear about it eventually. But her home got destroyed, so she doesn't have any clothes except for what she's wearing right now. And
Right.
I knew that you would be a doll and be able to help us put together at least something for her for the next the next few days until we can do more for her.
I'm honestly insulted that you only think I could handle her for the next couple of days. I mean, and she grabs a key ring that's hanging on a hook next to her door, goes to the next dorm room over and unlocks it. This room does not have anybody in it. It's just a closet. It's just a closet. Shh! Don't tell anybody. All right. So yeah, you're. That's what we get with you.
And while we're doing that, I
Mhm.
ask her. So what should I be wearing to a jungle?
Shorts. Show off your legs. I mean, like Tomb Raider chic something. I mean, you really need to let go of the jumpsuit. It's not. It has never been and never will be a good look. Some people. I mean,
Wonderful.
if you're going for Last Survivor on the Nostromo, sure, but otherwise, no. And the fact that she's making that reference is some dark secrets in there with her. Dark as far as she's
I mean,
concerned.
that is her secret. Her superpower is that there's way more to her than
Yes.
she ever lets on.
Yes. And a lot of what she doesn't let on about is the uncool part.
Or what she currently considers uncool. 5 years from now, that might be different.
Yeah. Okay, so that's that. Kiln, what are you doing with the time allotted to you? With the space here before Arizona? How are you? Are you the sort of person that suddenly realizes, oh my God, we still have homework that's going to be doing?
No,
No.
Homework? What's that? Who knows? No, I am going to, do my best to help support my friend Joey. And I'm going to make up some, go to the home ec room and make up some sample kunji and other kind of tidbits and stuff. And possibly ask Chris along to help me with all the cooking and trying to workshop the modern ingredients.
I'm imagining this conversation is like, knock on the door opens. I'm going to make kunji. Do you want to help? I have no idea what that is. Yes. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting conversation. It's like, okay, the next thing that would happen would be that we would have is baka fruit. And we need some equivalent to that. Okay, so like, what does this fruit taste like? Well, it's not really a fruit. It's more like a bread. Why do you call it baka fruit? It's just what it's called. So what kind of bread is it? Well, it's not really a bread. It's a grown thing.
It's a paste.
It's sort of a paste that you get from mashing this underground tuber. So it's like a potato. It's really more of a fruit.
I'm waiting for us to have to travel to the underworld to find this, that's the last remaining place that this one ingredient grows, and it is essential that we have it. It makes the entire dish.
What is this stuff called again?
Kunji.
Kunji. Okay. All right, so you and Chris are working on this. I'm actually. So we're going to get back to you in just a second. You're doing that. Joseph. Joey. Jojo. What are you doing?
Well, I'd been thinking of offering to help Tahi acclimate, but if she's been dragged off by
technically
by
you have been you guys were all sort of shooed out of the office, and Hellbinder is dealing with the minutia of getting you guys into the thing. So you guys have all been kind of shooed off and rather awkwardly scattered to the five winds.
Okay.
A bit.
I am sitting in my dorm room trying to write a note to Met. And scribble, 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 scribble. Wad, 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 wad. Toss. Scribble, scribble. Wad, wad, wad. Toss. Look at the piece of paper. Wad, wad, wad. Toss.
Pencil snap.
Pencil snap. Crap. Now, yes. All he's left with is just like, an inch of pencil that he's holding between thumb and fingertip, trying to write with that.
Yeah. Okay, so we see that kind of thing. Kill. You said this was in your dorm room?
Me?
Joe? Sorry, Joe.
Yes.
This was in your dorm
Yes.
room? Okay. Kill. So there's a knock on the door. This is hours later, right? There's a knock on the door. Kiln and I don't know if you think of her as Chris or Hellblade. Joe.
Holy Chris.
All right. Kiln and Chris are there with a. Is it more of a like a baked like sheet cake kind of thing? What's the form factor here? Is it a big bowl?
Well,
of stuff?
it's not in its normal form because I just did a bunch of small samples.
Oh,
Sample sizes for different you know, flavors.
Different versions of the kunji.
And I will be launching into a, explanation of if you use this kind of topping, it's meant to symbolize this. It's like flowers, but
And the guests get little balls of it, but the happy couple get a big bowl of it that they're supposed to feed each other, which turns into smearing it all over each other's face. It's very embarrassing. They always take pictures.
Yeah, he's got like recipe cards where he's not written the recipe, but like written the various like the language of flour, like translations of the various things. It's very difficult to find something. Really, we finally it's very difficult to find like one of the main we've finally settled on rhubarb, which isn't right, but as close as we can get. Yeah. Rhubarb and banana bread pudding, if you had to describe one of them. Kiln. I would like to present this as a comfort and support.
that is, that's fair.
So why don't you give us
It won't go well, but that's fair.
I mean,
You dove influence over me.
Yeah, and a -2 mundane.
I was gonna say, here's the thing: you have a long history in masks of using food as a vector for comfort and support, while at the same time being bad at it.
Oh no, I have a I can roll one better, a -1.
Oh yeah, why is that?
One of the moves I have is Ancient Wisdom. When you apply your old life to a modern situation,
Very
roll.
nice.
I have the adaptability label, which is at -1.
It's at -1, but then you get you have influence over Joe, which puts you at a 0. So really, it's just the dice at that point.
What could possibly go
What
wrong?
could possibly go wrong? Don't hit the dice next to ancient.
Cut to exterior of the dormitory. A brick wall blasts open from one of the rooms on the second floor.
So you can just roll that soldier that's on there and
Yeah, that's why I'm doing M
add
+1.
+1 and see what we get from there. Bloop. Little dice roll.
Oops.
Bloop. Oh. Oh.
Oh my god, double 2s.
Ironically, the photo that just came up on my screen saver is one of James holding out a huge cinnamon roll that was part of the honor roll celebration in like middle school or something.
I will just have to say, for the record,
You didn't include any modifiers in that.
There-
Oh no, I guess it is. I guess it is net to 0.
it's a dead
Sorry.
0, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Hang on for just 1 second. I will note, for the record, James, knowing how much you actually bake in real life, you're absolutely allowed to comfort and support me by baking stuff. That there's a well, remind me to talk about that after we're done, because there's a funny little bit of a story there. Anyway, all right. So, yikes. Okay. So, I'm gonna look at comfort and support here real quick.
Great question.
Food poisoning?
No. When you comfort or support someone, roll one day. On a hit, they hear you. They mark potential clear condition of shift labels if they open up to you. They don't really say what the 6 is. The 6 is just kind of wide open. All the basic moves are like this because the 6 could really kind of be anything. That sort of depends.
Yeah, the miss is always going to be hard move, and you can look at your GM hard moves, but you can also look at the moves for the playbooks.
Yeah, which then it becomes a question of, is it Kiln's hard? I think it's probably Kiln's hard move. Or
whichever is funnier, honestly.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. I'm gonna go look at Bill or Joe here real quick. I mean, something about swarm them with mundane forces is funny, but uh sorry, hang on for just a second. I need to I'm thinking about this one because this is hang on, I want to look at this.
I mean, endanger their lives might be indicated here.
Have you guys seen Jumanji, where the one guy has the like he's one of his weaknesses is cake?
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
It's a classic girl genius weakness. So
yeah, in Jumanji, the guy literally explodes when he eats cake. It's a little bit more extreme than. Sorry, we're setting an absolutely obscene alarm for tomorrow morning, and to make sure that that gets taken care of, so we don't forget. This is the one you were looking for.
That's too long.
It's the braided one.
No, but I'm looking for the shorter braided one.
All right, well, I can't help you.
Oh.
All right, you set? All right. Sorry for the delay. Man.
I love you a lot.
Okay, Joe.
Mhm.
Let me look at what conditions have you got here?
I have angry, guilty, and
You
insecure.
have a lot at this point.
Yeah, I think I absorbed a powerful blow somewhere.
Yeah, you
in there.
did. You did somewhere in there. You guys are always walking around with guilty when that is like the thing that I would most like to do. So, Joe, first of all, Killen's whole thing with this assumption of like what only sounds to you like wedding reception food.
Yeah.
Was awkward to begin with. They apparently decided to double down on that by making you like a sampling tray. Did you have any brothers and sisters?
Nope.
Cousins? None of that kind of stuff. Okay, so you wouldn't have had.
I probably had cousins, but
There was at some point when you were actually fairly young. You have some recollection of being absolutely bored out of your wits, because you'd been carted along as the third wheel when your mom had to go to some cousin's daughter's like wedding planning day, and everyone was sitting around and they were doing one of those like interminable figure out some other way to get them to spend more money on a second bridal shower kind of thing, where they just taste all the cakes and smell all the flowers to decide what they're going to actually do at the wedding. And for a while, free samples of cake was pretty awesome, and after a while it was just awful and boring. And that's a little bit of what the tray reminds you of. But aside from that, Chris is there. Chris helped. Chris was involved in this entire thing, which means now Chris is somebody who has to know why this is all happening, which means Kiln is telling people about this, which means it's even going to get worse because now it isn't just the people in the group. It's like basically everyone knows now, or they will soon. But basically everybody knows now, and you can't even get a note in. And I mean, you haven't even managed to put together a note now, and by the time you actually get this thing drafted, everyone's going to already know, and you're never going to get your chance to actually say anything because it's just going to be all ruined by everybody just knowing, looking at you, stuff like that. My thought here, and this might be a little bit hard, so tell me if this is a little bit hard, but my initial thought, first thing, is that Kiln, definitely want you to take Insecure because you really thought that you had a thing here that you could do for Joe that would make him feel better and share some of your culture. And it was the sort of thing that would make sense from where you're at and what you would do. You make food and you give it to people, and that helps. And you, by the expression, the series of expressions that are like shuddering across his face, one right after the other, it is clear that that did not have the effect that it had. You are definitely misread the situation once again, not really getting how it is today versus how it is, and I believe that this makes you insecure.
I will accept that. I
Yes?
had technically taken for failing my move. I had taken guilty for much the same reason. But
Oh,
if
you could
want
take
me
you could
to-
take either one. Oh, you already took guilty for failing.
Yeah.
You don't have to admit it, but
No, I do. That's part of the move.
Oh, the
On a miss, shift adaptability down and another label up, and market condition as well.
Oh, I didn't realize that was in there. I think I'm gonna throw in insecure on top of that because well, no, never mind. If your move already has a thing in there, I didn't realize it already had it. See, it's got a 6 condition in there, kind of. So that's fine. Shift adaptability down, another label up, and find yourself out of your death market condition. Oh well. Okay, perfect. No, if you're better with guilty, like I put my foot in it, I'm giving you another option there to go with insecure in the like, oh my god, I really can't trust my own instincts. I just cannot be relied on to understand what the right move here is ever. Ugh. Or guilty for the, oh god, I made it
no.
worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was. Yeah.
So I'm fine with either one of those. I'm sorry, I should have read the move in a little bit further. I was giving this a little bit
No,
more.
it's
I was
okay.
looking at the comfort and support move going, okay, well, this is wide open. I got to figure this thing out. Joe. So there's nothing really that lands on you as such except for all of those revelations. So, given that, what do you do? They are still standing in the doorway. Food's still there. All of these thoughts going through your head. 1 inch of pencil left in your hand. What do you do?
I glance at Chris, then I look back at Kiln and say, just go.
Ooh. And then you close the door or just walk away?
Yeah.
What do you do? Yeah.
Actually, I will turn and walk away.
Oh. The symbolic door slamming. Yikes. All right.
Well, of course, because Phoenix Academy probably has those fancy dancy automatically closing doors.
Or I'm
Yeah.
afraid I'm going to do something like slam the door and it will fall off its hinges, and now I'll have a door that's stuck open.
All the time. No, it's one of those ones. You get a good chance to see him really slump into his room, looking really, definitely worse off than he was when he opened it, and then it closes. So it gives you that good 5 to 10 second view of the situation. And if you don't mind, there's just that moment when Killen's like opens their mouth and is just about to say something, and that's when the door closes. Like, oh, too late. Chris is like, I mean, I thought it was nice. I like the rhubarb and banana. As long as you put the cream on it, it's pretty good. You okay? She kind of waves her fingers in front of your face.
It was the bananas.
Oh no.
Oh.
Okay. Alex, where are we at for the briefing? We're gonna cut to you.
So when did you guys put a moose in orbit?
Moose? I'm not sure what your... And so this is, so you probably have a number of contact people. This is probably like an initial debriefing kind of middle analyst kind of person who's meant to just sort of, you know,
Take dictation.
They're not the person behind the one-way mirror.
No, they're not the person behind the one-way mirror. Who's the person? Did we bring Waters back in for this? We did, didn't we? We had Waters.
We did. I had like a few extra NPCs that I set up if you wanted to use those. But yeah, like if Waters is there, that's fine. Alex is not necessarily asking them this question to ask them. They're just basically using this to lead into this revelation of, so your satellite system used this energy signature very similar to what the Stegosaurus used, and I thought that was kind of interesting. And I thought Aegis should know about that.
I think you do have those other people. The person I think I want to have kind of respond to this initially is Waters. So I'm going to have him at least in for this thing. Although some stuff may happen that we're going to get the other people involved in this.
Sounds good.
Initially, but for this first thing, so the guy who's in there to do the initial briefing looks really just flat out confused by this initial whole thing. Like, when did you put a moose in? Or like, what? And that legitimate confusion goes on for about 10 seconds, and then Waters like opens up the door and steps in and says, "All right, kid, I think I got this one. Why don't you go in there and take over for me?" And the agent, who is in no way, shape, or form a kid, is at least experienced enough to not make it look like they're completely flummoxed by the whole situation and confused by the whole thing. And, you know, stands up, nods to you, nods to Waters, realize they just nodded 3 times to 2 people, and gets out. What, all right, now this is supposed to be a debriefing for you. We'll get to that other thing in a little bit. What happened out there? Why did the defense satellite get called in the first place? He really lays on the emphasis on that defense satellite thing.
Well, there was a hostile with significant, offensive capability, which I noted in my earlier report, which was filed on site, you'll note. And it seemed to be out of control, and it was probably going to make a beeline for a populated center sooner or later. And we did not have the assets available to take it down any other way on site. We did not have, as far as I know, any sort of contingency for tracking, where it was going, other than just the drones that I had. So I felt that we were kind of in an imminent escalation scenario, and I requested support.
All right.
The thing is, though, that if we consider what the satellite was capable of, what I'm really pointing out is that Stegosaurus was capable of that too, and you wouldn't want like this self-directed, like defense satellite roaming around making its own decisions about who and what to shoot, which it was.
No. If we had that kind of, well, we have the satellite orbit, which is highly classified and actually beyond your pay grade to know about. So forget you do. You really want to not mention that.
Oh, that's fine. I'm not. I don't plan on it. I mean, I'll go back to school and be like, hey, what do you do for the weekend? Oh, I called in an orbital strike on an undead moose. It's not really my bag.
There is no moose in orbit. I'm not fully sure about the provenance of the thing, the tech, but I'm pretty sure not a moose. The brass are going to ask for a full cataloging of any other technology that you may have encountered while you were on the site.
I fully intend to file as complete a report as I can.
If you don't mind, I'd like to collaborate with you on that a little bit, just to make sure that everything is as neat and tidy as it can be.
You bet, boss.
We wouldn't want to confuse the brass.
Yeah, me personally, I have a direct manager who apparently managed to trip himself up a number of times with the higher management by sort of over communicating when he was earlier on in the company. He's been there for like dog years, but and as such is positively paranoid about any interaction that anybody on his team might have with leadership, and making sure that they are coached within an inch of their life and sanity before any meeting that involves like anyone with an S in their, credentials. So yeah, a little bit of that, like sort of managing the message thing. A little bit of, sort of deciding what needs to be said versus what doesn't need to be said, that kind of thing. The briefing, and I don't know, I don't think you have, there isn't like a, well, there's the, where is that? Where's the move where you call them in? Which one is that? It's not the higher calling thing.
They're all called higher calling.
Yeah. Oh, it's the additional resources thing.
Yeah, I pasted the actual move text in.
Thank you. Yeah. The his watch buzzes, like, zzz, kind of thing, and he kind of like glances at it. Then he glances at it again, and he doesn't frown so much as it's the he gets this look on his face, and if you haven't seen the movie recently, I apologize, but it's the facial expression that I realize I'm thinking of. When Theoden is leading the Rohirrim in the fields of Pelennor, and everything is basically going his way, and then he sees the elephants coming, and he gets that look on his face like it's just one more fucking thing, and oh my Christ, we're doomed again thing.
This is why we can't have nice things.
This is why we can't. And that's kind of the look that Waters gets, where it's like, yeah, just,
Same time, Bill.
have you got?
Yeah, that's the one. That's what I was looking for.
It's either just before or just after that where he just gets that tired look on his face. Anyway, did you get any video footage of the whole thing? They're gonna want.
Well,
they're requisitioning it. They're requesting it.
It's not going to be on YouTube or anything, but yeah, I got footage of everything. It was great.
All right. Can you go down to the tech labs and download that for review then? Is that going to be something that we can do here before you head off back to school?
You bet.
Okay. So the expression on his face would seem to convey that he thinks that's a not great news. Clearly, if you've got all your footage in there, then it's everything with Tahi, the temple, blah, blah, blah. Hell, for that matter, Excelsior, which is certainly something. So my question is like, do they just get the full raw download, or what do you do? If you intend to keep Tahi under wraps, dumping the whole thing in there is probably not going to help with that.
Alex at this point does not think of Aegis as the bad guy, and doesn't really have any reason to withhold this from them.
Okay.
And has kind of hedged their bets in terms of being okay with it. I mentioned being okay with the temple being destroyed. Like, Alex at this point also feels that it's probably for the best that the temple did get destroyed, so that Aegis can't go loot it. This is why they're so worried. If Aegis already has this sort of satellite technology that presumably was based on whatever fucking Stegosaurus beam things going on, that's something Alex didn't know going into this.
Right.
That's a concern. So I think they're going to think of this as kind of a trade-off. But as far as video footage, they're fine with it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because I realize that some of this is me project, because Hellbinder is let's keep this out of Aegis's radar. Metis is something like that. That not necessarily the tack that you're taking, and I had attributed that, and that's not really fair. Okay. So, all right, yeah.
And honestly, Alex doesn't think that it's a secret that can last for long. And so they're basically just saying, I'm going to be in control of when it gets leaked.
Yeah. And honestly, yeah. And if there's a good chance if Hellbinder gets all the paperwork in, right, there isn't a heck of a lot that they just can do anyway.
Yep.
It's not like they don't have other ancient beings that are still participating in high school as though that's a thing. One of them is currently baking. So, anyway. Okay. Well, so he kind of gets up, you get up, yeah, go down to the tech thing. I think you're pretty much done after that. I mean, they can't really ask for any more in depth of debriefing than, video footage of pretty much everything. So that's fine. We'll talk later, kid. And the way he says it is I will find time for us to talk later. But again, given what you're saying about Alex's sort of mindset on that, that's all kind of just okay. maybe. I mean, there's not necessarily anything, too terribly ominous about that, but that's how he chooses to emphasize it. And that's about it. They're gonna, the tech guys get on now. So what is your? Is that just the drone footage? I don't remember if Alex has cybernetic eyes.
Alex does not. So that would all be the drone footage.
Drone footage from various. So there's a couple places in there, and you probably get this as you're, can pick up on this. I don't know. Are you going to pay that much attention, or just drop off all the stuff and head out? I mean, you can if you want, like, sort of look over their shoulder and get some of this stuff, and be watching it as well. It lets you kind of assess the situation or something like that if you're so inclined.
Sure, I'll do that.
All right. Why don't you give me a roll on that thing? Let's see what something to file away. Ew.
Nope.
Ew. Wow. Take some.
Ready for potential, though.
Yeah. Take some potential on that. Yeah, that's the look. That's the one I was thinking of. I think that's actually. I misspoke. That isn't when the elephants show up.
That's the Nazgul.
That's when the Nazgul show. Like.
Yep.
Yeah.
We just figured out the damn elephants, and now Nazgul. Like, goddamn. Why do I keep rolling sixes? All right. Do. So this is one of those moments of sort of the obstinance of bureaucracy and hierarchy and orders from above, so on and so forth. But you're bringing in all the drone footage, which you took, that you were able to access while it was being filmed, and you're kind of like sort of hanging around, and the actual techs that are doing the work are sort of like awkward about the fact that you're hanging around, but they're not saying anything. A senior guy comes in and says, "Okay, agent, you can head out," and makes it clear in a fairly brief exchange that, as stupid as it sounds, you don't have the clearance to review the footage that you shot. They don't want you here, and in fact, you are not allowed to be here. And there's some flexibility about this, but not in this case.
No, that's fair. Like in the real world, John Johansson, the guy who broke the CSS decryption system for DVDs, and the reason you can rip DVDs at all, got prosecuted for that on the charge of trespassing on a computer system. When asked which computer system he trespassed on, the answer was literally his own.
That is awesome and horrible, and kind of that same feeling. I will say that there's a potential here. Again, your emotions are your own, but there's a potential here to feel kind of like weirdly icky about the whole thing, because it's kind of like, but I was there. Like, I saw this. I did all this. They're my drones, and you won't let me look at the... No, apparently not.
I mean, Alex is fine because Alex has backup copies of all this, so
That'll be interesting. That'll be interesting for the next beta roll to come up. There's some fun stuff there, because if nothing else, I think probably in the back of Alex's mind, I mean, the big pink blast energy thingy from space, that's interesting. I would suggest that one of the things that the Moose did that was at least as attention grabbing from Alex's point of view was the bit where the drones lost track of it, and the thing apparently went into "you don't see me anymore" mode until it did its next attack, like a half an hour later. That's...
Well, there was also the weird circle of drones in the field.
Yeah, that was the... Yeah. So yeah, it did something to some of the drones in a way that Alex didn't realize that they'd gone offline. directly, or didn't get any big alert of like a whole bunch of them like flatlining. But also, I mean, the drones were kind of everywhere. The idea that the thing was able to just sort of backtrack up to the temple and didn't run in and none of the drones saw it is just, there's no math for that, for the odds of that actually being likely, unless it was doing something.
Wonder if Aegis has that technology too.
But that's honestly, I mean, yeah, being able to zap stuff from space is scary, but being able to basically avoid any and all surveillance at will, yeah, that's pretty crazy. So yeah, data there to go digging for examples, trying to figure out what the hell that thing did in that example. You can race you can race the Aegis text and see if you can figure out before they can. Hooray! Not that they'd be able to reverse engineer it from we saw somebody do it, but anyway. All right. So we have Alex leaving Aegis, Joey still at his desk, still scribbling. I guess Met and the girls are sort of trying things on like a dress mannequin that she inexplicably has in her closet. And Kiln and Chris, where are Kiln and Chris at? Or where's Kiln, I guess, more specifically, at the end of all this? Morosely eating Kunji, or
that's it. That's the shawarma scene with Kiln and Chris sitting in the
morosely
kitchen, morosely eating Kunji.
I want to complicate that scene if I can.
Okay.
Which is that they're sitting there eating this, but there's a student that walks by and says, "What's that?" And Kiln absentmindedly just explains, "It's a thing for when you're in a relationship." And the student just looks at the two of them and is like, "Congratulations."
Well, no, actually, you rained on my parade.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
I was going to, because I feel bad, that now Joey, through whatever. Now Joey feels, or is worried that everyone at school knows. So Chris and I get together and we decide to make sure the gossip is all about us fake dating. Or saying that, Chris and I are dating to get the attention away from, this maybe rumor off to the side.
I love it. Okay. First of all, that's awesome. And I love it. And yes. Secondly, is there a possibility where we fuse these two ideas, where the initial thing is somebody goes, "What's that?" "Oh, it's blah, blah, blah." And they say, "Congratulations, you two," and walk off. And that's when you like, "No, wait." And then you go, "Wait, that gives me an idea." Like the initial misunderstanding is what gives you the, I don't know. That's, but if that's what you guys are just like, when you walk off and you just, if the energy that you're looking for is, we need to fix this, what can we do to fix it? And you come up with the, you just come up with it, and that whole exchange with the student going by is entirely intentional. And the first like secret high five after they walk off, like, yes, this is gonna work, kind of thing. That works entirely too.
Yeah, there's the realization that, people will actually accept this.
Then let's lean into that. It's not a mistake. And oh God, poor Chris. because she's absolutely going to go along with it. But not for the same reason that Kiln thinks that it's not because she's being like super helpful for this thing. It's just like, because yeah, poor Chris.
It's high school drama.
It's high school drama. It's perfect. Which I got a recommendation for an anime on, and I need to go back and look at it and see if it's something I actually want to pass on, but I'm not going to do that right now. Right now, what I'm going to say is Kiln, closer to the team, further away from the team, more into an image of yourself. Everybody acts surprised when I ask these questions.
Yeah, because normally you ask them to someone not me first.
You usually ask me first.
Or mom.
Me first.
Sometimes.
Eh.
Sometimes.
Anyways, you're in the hot seat.
I bit of a roller coaster, but I will say that, I grew closer to Joe.
By gosh darn it.
Well, I felt that we had a good conversation on the Excalibur. Or Excelsior.
Excelsior.
Yep.
Excelsior. And I'm hoping that, by doing this, or doing the fake dating AU, that I can, kind of apologize in that way. But even though I messed up, I feel that, I've grown closer to Joe, and Joe has taught me more about the modern world.
Awesome. I believe, Joe, you
now,
already have.
You think might be all wrong, but hey.
So you can clear a condition or take potential, Joe.
Watch Joe be further away from the team from me.
Yeah, specifically. So Joe, I believe you already have influence. You can shift labels. Do keep in mind that one of the labels you can shift, I think, is the one that represents Kiln's like
adaptability.
Yeah, thing. That is actually a shiftable label. Same for Soldier, I think, if that's for Alex, I think as well. Anyway, so that's that. We'll do Alex next. Alex, what do you think?
I'm going to grow into the image of myself. I don't think that I had super strong connections to any one person, but I didn't go away from the team either.
Yeah, you were very Alexy, especially in your the conversation that you had with Tahi, I thought, in the ship, which was like, it's all logical, and at the same time, it still seems so wrong. And
so freak up, save her down.
Freak up, save her down. Okay, gotcha. Met.
I'm gonna say closer to my image of myself, both because of the surfacing of the memory of Tahi, and then also the discussion about purpose, because it reminds me of my own purpose. And one of the big things with the Harbinger is stick to the job, and I think that this helps reaffirm that.
I like that. Yeah, I am down with that. Okay. And Joe.
I am going to say actually closer to the team. I was especially feeling that way on the ship to a certain degree, specifically towards Kiln.
Everyone's trying really hard to help you. They're just very bad at it.
Yeah,
which
and even the fact that he did this thing that he did with the thing and everything, it's still as close to welcoming as I can think. They.
Yes, they.
But, so I will say closer to the team, towards Kiln, kicking and screaming.
All right, so we got a label shift here coming out, and again, you can clear conditions or take potential. Certainly, you have conditions that need clearing. Should you decide that's the way you want to go, you have a plethora.
And Kiln does have influence over me, so
There you go.
um,
Let the label shifting commence. All right. I think I actually managed to record everybody this time, so that's awesome. Session 16 in the bag. Thank you guys for all that.